Hi, it's Kristen Alicia Chaika, and this is Guardian of the Galaxy fan illustration. The materials I used are Bristol paper, pencil, Copic marker, and a fine liner. These are the markers I use in the background, which is where I'd like to start. I like to start giving the background color first because I lay the ink down to the point where it bleeds through the line work, and if I've colored inside the lines, it sneaks out. Like, it doesn't matter whether or not you colored inside the lines. If you put too much ink, it's going to bleed. These are Copics. But as you watch, you may notice how, to remedy the problem, you use the colorless blender from the outside edge of the bleed and make small circles. You can actually push that ink into the paper, back into the line work. And this method works great for lighter colors, but not so well for vibrant or darker colors, in which case a little colored pencil goes a long way. To get the appearance of water trickling, I'm using the same colors as the background and the same color as the water, the blue on the table. You just make downward strokes with each marker in a varied amount so that it's even across the whole area where the water's trickling, and then use a colorless blender to fade the edges. Later I'll define that water with white colored pencil, and then on top the smaller droplets with a fine liner. These are the colors I'm using for Groot and Rocket. Why is Groot blue and green, you ask? Because the browns and oranges that I have are much warmer than I wanted him to appear. Adding blues and greens to copper tone browns make them less vibrant, cooler browns. Same kind of color theory taking place in the pot here. I'm using warm grays over the vibrant blues to get some unique shading and tones not usually found in the markers. When you can't find the color you're looking for, sometimes you can make it yourself. And clearly I overdid it on saturating the paper and it bled out, but keep watching to see how I remedy that with the blue water and then later in color pencil. The marker I used on the water was actually drying out and leaving streaks, which kind of worked in my favor. I used the colorless blender over it, and that gave it a more reflective appearance. Shadows are important to ground objects in your illustration, and it's pretty easy to add them with these markers. Just color everything the color you want it to be and the shadow last on top of all those other colors, and the marker inks will mix and the shadow will appear more natural automatically. If it doesn't look as natural as you'd like, you can always go back in with the other color, like the blue water here. The watering can has 2 green markers. I color it with the light green, and then after it's saturated with that, the darker green around the edges and the shadows. Then when you go back with the light green and only the highlighted areas, you can get a really nice gradient. You can do this with 2 colors as long as the paper has enough ink in it. They will bleed together smoothly. Rocket has some shading in the light blue shoulder pads and the bright orange suit, which once again I put too much ink into and it bled out and it looked pretty awful, but it's not that big a deal. Just let it dry. Once it's dry, push it back inside his shirt with the colorless blender and the green marker in the background, and then color on top with colored pencil, and it'll be completely disguised. I like to highlight with yellow pencil to give warmth, and then the white to give the details something that makes them stand out. Mostly I just use colored pencil to give the characters a little more 3-dimension. I use slightly darker colors where I want there to be a little bit of a shadow, and slightly lighter colors where I want there to be a little bit more light. Also, colored pencil does give some texture, which can make your image a little more interesting. Now I reline the whole piece, and this can help hide some flaws as well as make your characters jump out off the background a bit if you give them a thicker line just around the outside, especially Groot. Groot has the thickest outline. And last, for some comic book flair, take a white colored pencil and make a slap effect. I line that a bit as well. Here's the finished illustration. I have an Etsy, Facebook, and Patreon, so come check them out. Plus I put up weekly videos here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Bye!